Hello, I'm Candice Miller, the Macomb County Public Works Commissioner. We just thought it was time to give you an update on what we're doing here at the interceptor collapse on 15 Mile Road. And as you can see, hopefully you can see in this video here in the background, what's happening with what we call the shaft, the trench, which is the biggest hole. It's going to be the biggest hole that I have ever seen in my lifetime, and I hope I never see another one this big again. But essentially what we've done, as the sewer has collapsed here on 15 Mile Road, we've built this shaft, a trench, on top of the interceptor. And the shaft is going to be about 320 feet long, 25 feet wide, and right now it's about 30 feet deep, but eventually, in a couple more weeks, it will be 60, 70 feet deep. Because at 60 feet under the ground here is where the interceptor is and where it's all collapsed. And so we have to build this shaft, obviously, so that the contractors can get down and replace the pipe, the collapsed pipe. It's really a very interesting engineering feat as they've built this shaft. So as you can see along the perimeter of the shaft here, they've got what they call whalers. That's the long beams running, and then they have the struts across. And essentially what they're doing is configuring this so they are building a cage around the shaft. And one of the other elements of the cage was, for about a month and a half, unfortunately for all the people that lived in this immediate area, they were listening to this drilling. That part is done now, but they were drilling about 270 3-foot wide in circumference cylinders that they drilled down 70 feet. So they would set these things down 70 feet, of course pull up all the soil inside the cylinders, and then they would put in most of them, a steel H-beam and then fill it with concrete. And so they sort of triangulated those all the way around the shaft. So again, they're building this cage. As you can imagine, the safety risk of trying to go down 60 feet and replace an interceptor. So this is probably the most labor-intensive part of this, if you will, is actually building this shaft and doing this excavating. Now, as they've been excavating, fortunately, the contractor that we're using, we're proud to say we got a Macomb County contractor, Dan's Excavating, who is doing a fantastic job out here. In fact, let me just say that everybody on this site, from our engineers, which is Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick, which is a Macomb County firm, our contractors, Dan's Excavating, most of the subcontractors, they are from Macomb County or in the immediate area. And as well, we're trying to make sure that everything that we purchase to fix this is built in the USA. And I hope this is not politically incorrect, but let me just tell you what, we don't have any Chinese steel on this site, okay? Our steel is made in America. Was lofted in Indiana, Midwest Steel. And all the pipe that we're going to use to replace the interceptor, and if I can ask my handy assistant here to give me a piece of this pipe, this is called hobos. When they actually get down to be able to replace the interceptor, they're going to be using this hobos pipe, which is made in Texas. It's really the industry standard now, and it's made out of polymer and fiberglass. It is very, very high tech. It's expensive, but I will tell you what, they say that the life expectancy of this hobos pipe could be 200-300 years. I'm not sure, but it's very heavy, so I'm going to hand it back off to my handy assistant here so I don't have to hold it. But the hobos pipe is going to start coming so we can replace the interceptor with the hobos pipe. That pipe will be shipped in about 20-foot sections, and it'll be shipped probably in the middle of July, and we'll be able to actually start replacing the pipe that's collapsed there with this new hobos pipe. This project is moving along, in my opinion, incredibly well. As far as I know, it doesn't seem that way if you live in the immediate area or you have a business here, but we are really making great progress on keeping everything rolling here, moving along. We've run into a couple of hiccups, worked our way through them all. We've been able to obtain financing to pay for this entire project, which is about a $75 million project. We just sold our bonds, and the bonds I think sold for a little over 3 percentage points, which is a great savings for the ratepayers here. And as well, we refinanced the existing debt from this infrastructure asset, and probably will save about almost $6 million for the ratepayers over the length of the bond issue, the other 18 years it had to run on that bond issue. So we've done pretty good with our financing. We're really happy to report all of that. Now, in addition to this, the interceptor that's getting fixed here, and how we've been able to actually get down to fix this pipe, of course, you've heard me talk about our bypass. So this is a section of our long-term bypass that I've talked about. This is really just such an engineering marvel. And again, if you go on our Facebook page, we actually have we had a drone that took a picture of this thing all the way down as it runs. And as I mentioned, it comes up east of Utica Road. So we're pumping the sewage up 60 feet, then we run it down this bypass down 15 Mile Road on the other side of Hayes, and then discharge it back down another manhole there. And the purpose of the bypass, and why I really want to emphasize this, first of all, its primary purpose is because it has allowed us to take the sewage out of the interceptor so that we can complete the repairs of the interceptor. However, if you think about it, since January 1st, that's when I took office here, we have not had to discharge one drop of raw sewage into the drains, into the Clinton River, ultimately into Lake St. Clair. And yet we have this interceptor where you have about 600,000 people in Macomb County who are flushing their toilets down this sewer interceptor. And as committed as we are to fixing this interceptor, and we are just as committed to protecting our environment. There's almost nothing more important to that than that. I mean, that's the reason we all live here in many ways. We all understand how blessed we are to live with all these natural resources, and we do not want to be discharging raw sewage out into our beautiful natural resources, the Clinton River and Lake St. Clair. And so hats off to everybody for working in many cases round the clock during January, February, March, April, when we had one of the the heaviest rainfall really in a season of rain, almost in recorded history. I read somewhere it was the 12th heaviest rainy season that we've ever had recorded. I mean, we forget about it, but we had an incredible amount of rain as we were building this bypass. And you had people working 24/7, putting hydraulic fluid into our pumps to make sure that the pumps kept running, that we weren't going to have to discharge. And so we just want to keep pointing that out. And I know that we are all in this together. We're all committed to making sure that we keep a blue economy, a blue environment, and make sure that we protect and keep our waters clean. And we are absolutely committed to that. So this might just look like a big black pipe, but that's the purpose for it. It's very, very critically important. When we were able to finally get all the sewage out of the interceptor, then of course we were able to begin to inspect, try to figure out what happened here, which is still, we're not quite sure. We might never really know because of the degradation and the thing is all collapsed. I'm not sure from a forensic audit standpoint, from a construction standpoint, if we'll really be able to understand it. We have some theories. But one thing we know is immediately to the east of the collapsed interceptor, as our engineers, now we get the sewage out of there, as they've been able to actually televise that, videotape it using sonar, walk it, and look, with the eye. What they found is, no surprise, because that section of pipe was laid at the same time as this, which was in the 70s, was laid in the same soil conditions, which is very suspect soil, and is the same kind of concrete pipe, an old concrete pipe with no re-rod, no reinforcement. We found that we need to actually line with that hobos another 3,700 foot of pipe. And we're going to do that because if you see the video, and by the way, it's on our Facebook page, we'd invite you to take a look at it. You'll see that there's what they call water gushers in there. There's weeping in there, water weeping. There's all kinds of degradation to the concrete pipe. And it is in, as our engineers have said, in imminent danger of another sinkhole and another collapse. That is not going to happen. We're going to fix this pipe. And by the way, this is the third time we've had a sinkhole on 15 Mile Road. This community in Macomb County, we can't go through another one of these. So this is an expensive thing to fix, but it's not an option. We have got to get it fixed, and we are going to fix it. We're not going to live through another one of these sinkholes on 15 Mile Road. Just can't do it, and we're not going to do it. So we're taking care of it here. We're going to get it done. We're sort of on schedule. and you know, we were hoping maybe by Thanksgiving. Now we think it might be a couple more weeks because of the additional line of pipe that we have to reline here. But our plan still is to be done with this on 15 Mile Road as far as the interceptor is concerned this year, and hopefully, weather permitting, we'll ask the weather gods to help us out here in the fall. But we'd like to be able then, of course, to reconstruct 15 Mile Road, make sure everybody can get to Grandma's house by Christmas time. That's really our plan. So everything is going very, very well here. These contractors are working here, you know, 6 days a week. They're just working. They're on very long shifts. We might even have to lengthen their shifts a bit to make sure, depending on how things are going with the schedule. But that's our plan, as I say, from a time frame. And one thing I would point out, we have not had any real safety issues on this site. And I think that's an important thing to note. When you think about a project of this size, and this is probably the largest infrastructure emergency disaster that's happening right now in the state of Michigan, certainly one of the largest in the entire nation, no real safety issues. So safety first is something that is preached out here every single day. And you haven't read anything, and hopefully you won't during this entire project, of anybody really getting hurt out on this project. So we're really very cognizant of that as well. But anyway, things are going well out here. We feel great empathy for the businesses that are here. The businesses are open. You know, it might look when you come around here that maybe it's hard to get to them, but really you can get to them, and we would encourage you to patronize all of these businesses that are here. The people that live in this immediate area have, gosh, God love them. They really have gone through quite a bit, but they've been real troopers, and they know that we just have to get this project done. As you probably are all aware, when this thing happened on Christmas Eve, it started with one of the homes on Everline Drive here, right off 15 Mile. The residents there calling 911 in the middle of the night saying, listen, we hear this popping noise. That was the popping of bricks coming off of their house as their house was falling into a sinkhole. So you can put yourselves in their positions and think about how bad that was for these families. These are beautiful homes, and we had to condemn 3 of the homes. Of the 3 we've condemned, we actually have demolished 2 of them. There's another one that we have purchased. We actually purchased all 3 of them, and we did that because we said in Macomb County, we take care of our own. You're probably not buying sinkhole insurance if you live in Fraser, Michigan, maybe if you live in Fort Lauderdale, but not in Fraser. And rather than have them sue us, we all decided as a team that we needed to make these folks whole. We did that. We didn't have any litigation. Everybody has just been great. But anyway, the one house that we've condemned, we have not bulldozed that yet. And really, we're not sure if we're going to have to. It's because of all the work around there, you can't live in it. But once we're done here, I think all the property values will quickly go back to what they were previously. For one thing, you're going to know that you're going to be living with the best section of infrastructure probably in the whole county. So hopefully all of the economics here will bounce back very, very readily fast after we get done with this project. But again, we just want to thank all the residents for all of their patience and working with us through all of this. And again, hats off to all the contractors, everybody that's been working on this site. And it's just going very, very well. And my purpose today is sort of give you an update. And if you have any specific questions, feel free to call our offices. We're interested in any of your input or suggestions. And everything has been done in a very transparent and accountable way. And we'll be giving you regular updates as we go through this entire project. So thanks very much. Appreciate it.